What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into the Grateful Dead's officially released live catalog. I'm in 1968. Got Download Series Volume 6, March 17th, 1968. This is from the Carousel Ballroom in San Francisco. Eventually would become the Fillmore West. Apparently, you can't have a Fillmore West until you have a Fillmore East. I don't believe this was in circulation prior to the release in the download series. I stopped acquiring tapes around the turn of the century. By that point, I thought I pretty much had everything. I don't remember this one floating around in any version. Maybe I just missed it. But I think this was a new release, and it's a quality 1968 show. Typical set list, really great playing, really great exploring. The band sounds fantastic. This is the version of the band we're getting. The 6-piece right there, both drummers, Pigpen, no TC. The sound is a little 68 fuzzy. We're getting sort of like a dated, not really a hiss, but just that sort of fuzz that kind of lays over 60 shows that you just know it's dated. But I don't think it's a bad listen. Like, you can clearly hear everything on here. It is a single, it all fits on a single CD or a single release. I think the time is about 77 minutes. So even though it's a download series, it is less than 80 minutes long. The track list is there. That's it for the other one. Not that's it for the other one. The Love Light is actually the first set closer, and then everything else on there is the entirety of the second set. The Turn On Your Love Light is relatively chill, clocking it at 16 minutes long, which I guess is relatively short. Phil sounds great. Jerry's pretty focused, but he doesn't really get gritty and get really intense until about the 12-minute mark, and there's about 2 minutes of pretty high-intensity jamming. We essentially get vocals, guitar jam, vocals, a nice drum break with some bass coming in, more vocals that are a little bit longer, Pigpen getting a chance to go off, then sort of a closing jam. Not a very epic Turn On Your Love Light, but satisfying. And I'm not the biggest Turn On Your Love Light fan, so it does the trick for me. And then the second set, kind of your standard 68 stuff. That's it for the other one. It really sounds like they're rushing through that's it for the other one, the cryptical envelopment part, just to get to the other one. The meat of this, we get some nice jamming prior to the vocals. Then we get the first verse, little jam, second verse, back into cryptical. And then there's a really nice kind of outro jam that's kind of the bulk of the jamming for this thing. It's they kind of tear their way through the quote unquote song part of it. And then they kind of jam out really nicely. And one of the best things about this are the segues from from That's It for the Other One into New Potato Caboose, the segue from China into the 11, the segue from the 11 into Caution is they're telegraphing what they're going to go into. And so there's this nice sort of 30 seconds, 15 in one, maybe 15 in the other, where the two songs bleed together really well. That particularly works at the end of, I think it's the end of China Cat, where Jerry's holding these notes and then they go into the 11 and Jerry's still riding the China Cat energy as the rest of the band is going into the 11 and then Jerry finally joins. So the segues are all really nice. But that's it for the other one. They kind of it's your standard tear through of this song. New Potato Caboose, really confident, kind of loud, kind of bold. They're really feeling this one. That middle section of this is just so incredibly beautiful. It reminds me of a river, just they're all floating down this river, heading in the same direction. And everybody's kind of in their own little vehicle heading in the same direction. And Jerry's just kind of weaving around them and through them and down, but he's also kind of going down river with them. It's just kind of reminds me a little bit of some of Phish's jams, like a Theme from the Bottom jam from mid 90s. And when Free, sometimes when they would really stretch out those frees and kind of just ride that groove, the Dead are really tapping into that really well in the New Potato Caboose. And then there's a part towards the end of the jam, not the end of the song, when we hit some rapids, things get a little bit tumultuous for a while, but then we finally refocus and end the song strongly. China Cat Sunflower is like somebody dropped some LSD and there was way too much speed in it and things are frantic and crazy and chaotic. And this is a very dated 60s psych song. And I could imagine there's a world in which they just stop playing it after a while. The fact that they slowed it down and let it breathe and they sort of gave it a little bit of muscle is one of the greatest things they ever did with one of their early songs. And it became, just sort of an iconic Dead number. But this one is just crazy, high energy, crazy, just 60s psych. And Jerry's got some just, as they head into the 11, Jerry's guitar playing, just these spiraling psych jams are just absolutely amazing. The 11 is fantastic. We get a good 2.5 minutes of just pure jamming before the vocals come in. Some really nice Jerry bending those guitar notes and just squeezing everything out of that first middle jam. It does kind of like get a little low key after a while, and we sort of like, just as we ride the same groove, kind of the energy kind of comes down, but it seems purposeful. There's still momentum, but we're trying to just maybe bring a little dynamic action into the playing. But then it gets to a point, the 11's pretty long. I think it clocks in. It's like an 11-minute 11. So here we go. It feels like right around 9 minutes, feels like maybe somebody's waiting for something to happen and we're just, let's get something happening, but they're just still kind of riding that groove. And it's a nice listen. And then that goes into Caution. And again, about 30 seconds before we get to Caution, Caution is coming. You can feel it. They're just taking their time getting there. And then when we finally get there, it's also kind of like That's It for the Other One. Not That's It for the Other One. Love Light. Kind of timid. Like we're not immediately going into this awesome walking bass line by Phil or not into this crazy energy. It's a very sort of hesitant, take our time, explore patiently, that kind of Caution. Jerry's pretty low key, but then eventually he steps up and kind of brings the energy, but not until like the 4-minute mark. We get a nice drum break. We got a good long section, which Pigpen's on harmonica and the drums, and it's just kind of a drummer harmonica kind of going at it type thing, or drummers. Around the 5-minute mark, we finally pick up. We finally get some of that Phil Lesh bass action, and that kind of gets things cooking. Not until about the 6.5, 7-minute mark, but only for a little bit. And then we don't get the first vocals until like 7.5 minutes, close to 8 minutes into it. After the vocals, we get some sort of Jerry, Bob, spacey psych energy, some weird chords. We're kind of pushing the jam out there to more like space, but psych space, not like no drummer space. It's pretty interesting. Starts to get darker. This is a relatively not dark show. There's not a lot of real dark energy. It's pretty much straightforward, just exploring little psych energy, but it's whimsical, trippy, chaotic psych energy. We finally start to get some dark energy around the 8 or 9 minute mark of this. And then we finally go back into, and then after that, the whole thing's about 20 minutes long. Around the 10-minute mark is when it gets dark. And then about the last 10 minutes of this, we're in what would be like traditional Caution territory. Phil bass run. We're kind of jamming over your typical Caution ideas. Things are starting to get weirder as we get closer and closer towards the end of it. And then as we get closer and closer and we start to wind down, you start to get that chaotic feedback energy that is starting to seep in. But we're still like holding this Caution line for a good 20 minutes. And then finally, right before we go into feedback, there's like a flurry of just chaotic noise and everybody's going at it. And then we drop into a active, noisy, loud, chaotic, intense feedback that almost seems like a song. It seems like there's a start, there's a middle, there's a finish. This is a composed feedback. It's not end of the show noise. It's not an asterisk at the end of Caution. It's a standalone track that, yes, it's completely improv. It's loud. It's called feedback, but it does feel like there's this accidental or maybe intentional compositional energy to it. It's a good listen. Yeah, every single second of this is fantastic. It's just high quality 1968 Grateful Dead playing in San Francisco. Who knows what anybody was on? It's a good time. If I had to rank it among the other ones, it is my third favorite, my least favorite so far, only because the other two are absolutely fantastic and because it doesn't have a Viola Lee blues, which will immediately, well, can't knock all of them all to number one, but will knock it above anything that does not have a Viola Lee blues. Plus, everything that is on here, I think, especially that one that's at number one, the New Potato, I think, is maybe a little bit stronger on that one. I think you'll find songs on those other two that maybe are just a little bit stronger than this one. But yeah, that's what I got. That's how I would rank this. Those are my thoughts on this. Yeah, it's my least favorite of the 68, but it's still well worth getting, well worth listening to, definitely worth checking out. I just don't know if there's a single moment that's a must-hear moment. It's just the entire thing is a really solid listen. All right. Oh, and if you made it this far and you're wondering why I got all these Grateful Dead pictures on my face, I have blepharitis. My eye is just red, so I'm going to do something interesting. It's going to be like this for a while, according to the doctors. I hope they're wrong. I thought it was pink eye. They said it's not pink eye. Because if it was pink eye, it would go away sooner. I teach kindergarten. Pink eye is an occupational hazard. But anyways, I'm making it work, and I'm having fun. So sorry if these are all pictures of the dead, by the way, if they're a distraction. Thanks for making it this long. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know your thoughts on the show. And if you don't have it, go check it out. Go listen to it. That's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.